All right, everybody. Hello, 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 and welcome to Bleav in the Dallas Cowboys. I am Jeff Kavanaugh from 97.1 The Freak in DFW. I am alongside my co-host, the great and powerful former Cowboys wide receiver Jesse Holley, per usual.
Oh, Jesse Holley went 77 yards. It must be a reality show.
That is audio of Jesse doing something very good against the 49ers, which the Cowboys did not do over the weekend. But we are joined by a very special guest, three-time Super Bowl champion, the great Daryl "Moose" Johnston. Hello, Moose, and thanks for joining us.
How you doing, Jeff? How you doing, Jesse?
I'm well. Thank you for being with us.
My pleasure. Wish we were talking about something a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah. I mean, it's just 27 years. 3 Super Bowls in your 10 years with the Cowboys. That must have been a lot of fun. We're just going to wait patiently for the next one, and eventually it's going to show up. As you watch that game, it's the talking points that come out of the Cowboys when the season ends. I feel like a lot of them are kind of on repeat when it comes to the quarterback and the owner. So I want to start with a fill in the blank question for Moose. Cowboy fans should be blank that Dak Prescott is their quarterback.
It was such an uneven performance this year. I think the big word that would come to my mind, if you got to pick one word, unsure. When he is on, he is on. And he's got everything that you would want from an intangible standpoint. And he's had that since the day he walked into the building. The interception thing was really difficult for me to kind of figure out this year. We had them against the Bears and actually got into that conversation because he had that same middle of the field throw that was being intercepted, and he came out and did the exact same thing in that game. And there was a little bit of understanding, maybe because I've got confidence in my wide receivers to go get that football. And maybe they weren't on the same page, but this one was more, there's like 3 guys there. He may be able to go make a play on it, but I don't know if he was really all that open. It just seemed like too tight a window to throw into. So I think for him, he's got to start to realize, and he said it post game last night, there's certain things that I have to stop doing. I have to stop putting our team in a position where it's a negative. And he had 2 big ones yesterday. That first half is where they lost the game. They should have been up going into halftime, potentially by double digits. And now you stress San Francisco with Brock Purdy to make a comeback in the second half. When they go in with the score that it was at halftime, they're just going to come out and beat San Francisco. Hey, we're going to line up. We're going to run the ball downhill. We're going to take time off this clock. We're going to limit your possessions, and they're going to make it hard for you to get back in the game.
Moose, you talk about, the relationship between the offensive coordinator and quarterback, and you played for the great Norv Turner back in the 90s. I look at Kellen and I look at Dak, and it's that more of a peer-to-peer relationship than a coach to player relationship. Is that something that you see in those two working together? And can Kellen Moore get the very best out of Dak Prescott? Or have we come to a place where you might need a new voice in Dak Prescott's helmet to elevate his game to the level that he needs to get this team over the hump?
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Because I hadn't really thought of it when you talk about peer-to-peer, but you can go right to Green Bay and go Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers, and they found a way to make that one work. Never got over the top, but had some really, really productive seasons. So my big thing when we talk about what's going on offensively, what's your identity? It seems gimmicky to me. I'm a big hang your hat guy. You get into a tough situation. What do we hang our hat on? When we need to win a game, what do we hang our hat on? It's about matchups, and you're trying to create those during the course of the game to take advantage of what your opposition does. But you got to have that hang your hat component to your offense. And I really don't know what it is right now. And it's been a while since I think a lot of Cowboys fans have known what it is. And, to me, the greatest example is that last play. I mean, what is that? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Really? We're going to go full gimmick. I know. Listen, the Stanford band's not there to help you out, but what you were trying to do, hey, line up in a traditional formation. San Francisco is going to play you way off the ball. You got 5 seconds. You can get 8 to 10 yards and give your quarterback a shot to get it into the end zone on a Hail Mary. with a second left. Try something that makes sense more so than putting Ezekiel Elliott at center.
Jeff. Yeah, Jeff, you heard what Moose said. Yeah, Jesse, Jeff, you heard what Moose said.
We'll talk about this later, Jesse. I know what they wanted to do. They just did what the Cowboys have done for 27 years, and they didn't do it right. But I love that you now also have a perspective, not only as a player, as a broadcaster, but as a guy who you have GM experience now. When you look at, I remember Jerry before last week's game, they talked about why they did the offensive line they did. And it was basically saying, we knew it was going to be Dak that was going to have to carry us. So our identity was going to be, we've got to be able to pass protect and throw the ball, knowing that that's kind of where this league has gone and that's kind of what you wanted to do. When you put your GM hat on and you look at what they came into the season with and the great season that CeeDee Lamb had, and there is no number 2 receiver. Was that a flaw from the beginning or just unrealistic expectations on what Gallup could do coming off of an ACL with the Moose GM hat? Is that the wrong identity? Was the Amari Cooper thing a mistake? Take me down that path of the weapons, because the weapons left on the team's left are incredible. And the Cowboys have CeeDee.
The Amari Cooper thing is just, the mismanagement of the cap. You got to make a move, because if you're anticipatory with your management style, things are coming. Did you have something that could help you out? And I think that's what was the driver there. The history of ACL recoveries, and don't look at Adrian Peterson as your benchmark. Hey, he's going to be back in 6 months. No, that's Adrian. That guy's a freak. So what is traditional with an ACL to really expect Michael Gallup to be at full strength? And that's early, mid-October. Where was Noah Brown in the beginning of the season? I mean, he's like one of my favorite guys on the team, does all the dirty work. Look how many teams take that guy, that position that cracks the end of the line, that blocks the safeties, and uses that same look. And all of a sudden there's Noah Brown 35 yards downfield because he does do all the dirty work. They never maximized a position that virtually every team in the NFL that's using that style with that type of player on the outside is giving him chunk plays, a couple opportunities during the course of the game. To me, Noah Brown should have been the guy that held down the fort until Michael Gallup got back. And a lot of people don't talk about getting rid of Cedric Wilson last year. Everybody talks about Amari Cooper. Cedric Wilson was a big loss too. So that together was the one that you knew that position was not going to come out of the gates as strong. If you're going to build it, like you said, the O-line's got to pass protect. We're going to win via Dak this year, throwing the football. Well, shoot. Tyron goes down week 1. You came into the year thin at your wide receiver spot. So what are you going to do now? And that's what I'm saying. You can't make that decision. You have to have that hang your hat component. Hey, when we came into the year, we thought we were going to pass protect and throw it and use Dak to win games. That all blows up in week 1. Okay, at least we got this. At least we can hang our hat on this one here. And they haven't had that really, since, late teens, where we knew who the Dallas Cowboys were. When you talk to the defensive coordinators getting ready to play them, in our production meetings, this is what we've got to stop. This is the one thing we can't let happen. That's when you have a good team, is when the defensive coordinator knows exactly what he has to stop and is nervous that he's going to be able to stop that. And Dallas just doesn't have that right now.
Bleav in Cowboys, we're joined by 3-time Super Bowl champion Moose Johnston. Moose, we talk about the windows of the opportunity, opening and closing. And it's, as a fullback, you understand, when that hole opens up, I got to get through because it's going to close pretty quickly. When you look at the way the league is transforming and how free agency works and how team building works and all of those things, I personally said last night after watching that game, the Cowboys' window of success is now closed. And they have to start looking at how to rebuild this thing. From your perspective, from a player, from now in a GM type of situation, looking at the Cowboys, is that window still open? Is it cracked? Is it wide open? Or, are we flirting with that thing being slammed shut?
It's kind of, if you get an opportunity to be around those ones where you have the electric blinds and you hit the wrong one and it starts to go down, you can stop and kind of raise it up again. I think that's where they are right now. It's starting to close, but I think they could stop it and maybe if not get it going the other direction again, at least pause it. They've got a lot of talent on this team. They had some adversity this year that they had to fight through. It's just, to me, it's the inconsistency. Washington at the end of the year, followed up by Tampa Bay in the wild card round. Somebody explain that to me. Green Bay in the fourth quarter, Minnesota Vikings, 40-3. Somebody explain that to me. I just don't know how they swing on these huge performance metrics where 1 week it looks great, and then a week later or 2 weeks later, you're wondering who you're watching on television. So, that for me is one of the big things. I've become a much bigger believer in the window theory. I used to not believe in it. But when these teams hit that franchise quarterback and they recognize it early on, and you got Mahomes and you go, okay, we got 4 years to really make a hard run at this. But what Kansas City does is they reinvent themselves. They know who their identity is or what their identity is. They go out to fill the void of players. You lose Tyreek Hill and you're more explosive the following year through a tight end. Okay, that's people who know exactly who they are, exactly what they have to do. And they're getting better after signing the second contract for Patrick Mahomes. Justin Herbert, the Chargers are wasting an incredible opportunity with the talent that they have out there. That's where, for me, the window has become, a big thing. And I do believe that Dallas wasted a huge opportunity with the window because they knew Dak was their guy early on that rookie contract. And there was an opportunity for them to maximize it there. It's going to be interesting to see what San Francisco does with Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. It might be who gives us the biggest window. That could be one of the deciding factors in who's going to be the starter next year. We got to wait and see how they finish. But, John Lynch is going to have a tough decision to make, through the course of the offseason. A lot of draft capital spent on getting Trey Lance. But if this kid takes you to the Super Bowl and wins, you got a lot of tough decisions to make. So what maximizes that window? And that's where I've become a big believer in it, is when you find that young quarterback and you watch Cincinnati. Man, Cincinnati's going to be all in here for the next couple of years. And who knows how they pull it off when they get there. It's already impacted Buffalo. You're starting to lose that ability. And I've always gone back to that quarterback that wins the Super Bowl in his contract year, wants to be the highest paid player at his position, the most expensive position in the NFL. What happens to that team the next couple of years? They go off the edge.
Yeah.
They can't pay the swing tackle. They can't pay the dime corner. They can't pay all those supplementary positions that are critical. It's just as important as a group that you won that Super Bowl the year before, but now you've taken away all the cap space to keep those guys there. So you got to go out and bring in lesser talent and build the chemistry all over again. And it's going to take you a couple of years to do that. So that's where I started to really sway to that window when you see those rookie quarterbacks on that first contract.
How do you think that the Cowboys should handle what's happening at running back? And I think about it because I think it ties back into your identity. I think once upon a time, Ezekiel Elliott was a big part of that identity as a top 5 pick that's always going to get the ball, that's going to get you 4.5 to 5 a carry. But that guy is a running back in the NFL, and that becomes got a lot of miles. You get banged up. Now the young guys are a little more spry. Zeke's big money. Tony Pollard's a free agent unless they want to do what it takes to keep him. How do you play that?
Well, I think what happened yesterday really kind of throws a wrinkle into it. Now you got a pretty tough offseason for Tony Pollard, getting back to where we have really enjoyed watching him play the last couple of seasons in a role that's unique to him. How many of the fan base has been clamoring for him to get more touches, and we finally do it. And now what are we going to do moving forward? I think it's going to be a real hard decision on Ezekiel Elliott. I do think that you look at a lot of teams, and in the situation Dallas was in, do you give him that big of a second contract at that position, where you look at San Francisco, and this goes all the way back to Mike Shanahan. Man, they're just rolling guys through there. Kyle Shanahan has had a different leading rusher every single year in San Francisco, and none of them have gone over 1,000 yards. And yet they're going to their third NFC championship in 4 years. There's a different way to do this. And it's hard because the way the game has changed, the Derrick Henrys of the world are few and far between. And you've got to land in the right place that's going to buy into that and really kind of build off of that. Most of the teams are very, very diverse. It needs to be running back by committee. They're all looking for that certain style guy. They're not looking for the Ezekiel Elliott when he was drafted here in Dallas, because that's not really the identity that we talked about that a lot of the teams want to carry. They're not going with that featured back. They're not leaning heavy on the run. It's a lot of mix with a quarterback who can, stress your defense with a lot of opportunity in the zone read scheme, RPO schemes, things like that. So you've got to be able to pass protect. You've got to be able to be a viable receiver on the outside. And we're seeing a lot of these 2 running back sets now. You may have to be a pretty good lead blocker, or at least not afraid to go in there and kind of try to dig somebody out. So I think the requirements for the running back position have changed dramatically during the course of Ezekiel Elliott's time with the Cowboys.
Moose, man, we appreciate you, brother. We don't want to take up too much more of your time, man. Thank you for joining us. And Jeff, I don't know if you caught the theme. If you want to be like Moose and I, 1, become a Cowboy. 2, get you a picture for your background, okay? Get you a picture for your background, like Moose and I. If you want to be a part of this thing any further, you got to get you a picture for your background and become a Cowboy. All right.
Yours is printed on a piece of paper.
That's okay. This is what happens when you're a free agent and you get off a reality TV show to make the roster. Yeah. That's what happens when you have 3 Super Bowl championships.
I give you the better part. I always cover up the best part. So there's the.
Look at that guy. Hey, how many times did Emmett lead block for you?
I think 3.
Do you remember how many yards you got on those plays?
I had to bounce outside, and that's never a good thing for me.
Moose, thank you. I mean, I don't know how our people at Bleav got you booked, so I don't know if there's anything you want to promote or throw out there, or if this is kindness of your heart. You're still involved with the USFL, right?
Yeah, we're getting ready to kick off here. April 15th is our first week, so we'll have a little bit of an overlap with the XFL. We're making a pretty bold jump in year 2. So I mean, everybody knows last year we had all 8 teams down in Birmingham. So we're actually going to make some announcements here over the next 72 hours and really expand our footprint around our teams in the league. And the biggest thing for us was, we had a lot of people in the stands when Birmingham was playing, but when we had Pittsburgh and New Jersey playing in Birmingham, Alabama, the turnout wasn't as good. So that was the one negative from a lot of the fans that watched on TV. They love the production. NBC and Fox have committed to it again and are putting us on bigger platforms. We're more on the network this year than we were last year. So that notoriety, that recognition for our guys was really helpful. But we had 52 guys go into a training camp after our league. Obviously, Kavonte Turpin is our star story. I mean, Pro Bowl, All Pro, just an unbelievable transition for him. So, we're hoping to have that opportunity. But I think we actually had 13 guys on 53-man rosters at the end of the regular season this year. Wow. So some really good stories to tell. So hopefully we do better than that next year, and we're giving more guys an opportunity to keep chasing that professional dream in the NFL.
If Turpin had turned left or right, does he score a touchdown?
I'm just thinking he was going so fast. He didn't have the left rudder to kind of get out to the right. But yeah, I mean, that was a little bit of run to darkness on that one. Yeah. I think it's 17-17 there if he just kind of goes right a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you, Moose. We really appreciate your time, man.
You got it, guys. Take care.
Johnston, kind enough to join us. And Jesse, if you don't mind, we'll just carry on.
Let's do it
for a few more minutes. And I want to tell you, because I didn't before, that we're brought to you by our friends at Bet Online, your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You can't bet on the Cowboys anymore, but I did see today that the new odds for the winner of the Super Bowl are basically dead even. It's like plus 250, plus 260, plus 270, plus 280. So if you've got a hankering, get up in there. Bet Online, they got you covered for every sport, all your sports wagering information, live betting, free contests, giveaways all season long. NHL, NBA, MMA, tennis, boxing, golf, NFL. BetOnline.ag. Use the promo code Bleav, BLEAV, to receive a 50% welcome bonus on that first deposit. It's BetOnline, where the game starts. It was cool to have Moose.
Yeah.
I don't appreciate your window closed talk.
You appreciate that?
No, I don't appreciate that.
Why don't you appreciate that? That's a serious conversation right there.
Because I think their window is open. Because what is the cornerstones of what the Cowboys are doing right now? I feel like it's Dak, CD, Parsons, Diggs, and none of that is leaving. I guess my one question in terms of window is, what does their offensive line look like next year?
And that's a huge question.
Yeah,
right?
Steele will be back, I'm sure, but he won't be there to start the year. McGovern's a free agent.
Yep,
is Tyron running this thing back? Is Martin running this thing back?
Okay, let's stop for a second. Are we seriously bringing Tyron Smith back for another year? Are we not
Yeah.
setting ourselves up for the same thing that has been there for the last 4 or 5 years? He's not going to play a full season, Jeff. He's not. He's gonna.
No, probably not. But I don't know what else
He's gonna miss 9 games next year.
I just don't know what else you do because he's under contract on a reasonable contract. And if he wants to play, I don't know that somebody would trade for that, at least not much, because of how hurt he's been. And so I think it's a dude that you're like, hey, you're going, well, are you going to move Tyler Smith to left tackle and say you're the left tackle at the end?
You have to. At this point in time, coming into year 2, because you don't want to stunt you don't want to continue to stunt his growth. If he's going to be your left tackle for the future, all right, I gave you guys some flexibility this year because I went inside, I went outside. But if I'm going to be your left tackle for the future, then I need to get anchored in. I need to have every single rep and every single opportunity from day one of trying to get better, because he's still he's unpolished. And you saw that in the game yesterday. He had the holding penalty. I mean, guys still attack him, right? Like they look at him and go, oh, we can still get something on him. Like we can still come at him. And I think he needs every opportunity, every single rep, every OTA, every mini camp, every training camp, every single rep at left tackle next year. And, that should be where he stays. And Tyron, if you want to come back, if you still want to be a part of this football team, then, sir, you're going to have to play the right tackle and learn that very well. And
you're going to be playing left guard because Terrence Steele's your right tackle.
Well, you now become a swing tackle. You got to figure it out. You have to figure it out. If we re-sign Connor McGovern, then guess what, Tyron? You're now relegated to the bench, bro. Like, appreciate you being here. Use your experience, kind of get your coaching game up a little bit. But you now become our swing tackle.
Yeah, but I think when you figure out what does that line look like if it's Tyler Smith, if you bring back McGovern, Biotish, Martin, and it's Steele the second half of the year, and you have to figure out who the swing tackle is, like, I just don't think a back-to-back 12-win team, I don't think that window is closed unless you think that the team is going to get worse. And who's going to be the biggest loss on this team? Like, they're going to lose Anthony Brown, maybe Leighton Vander Esch.
I think when I look at the window closing, it's you're probably going to lose Dan Quinn, right? That's probably going to be your biggest loss.
Yes, that's very possible.
And I think coaching matters, right? And the way that a coach can scheme guys up, that defense believes in Dan Quinn, and that isn't to be forsaken. That isn't to be just glossed over, because you get a different type of performance from guys that believe in what their coach is coaching them, believe in their coach, and they want to go out there and do everything the way that you ask them to do. And if Dan Quinn leaves, who you think about guys like free agent guys, Barr, Vander Esch, Wilson, Brown, all those guys, you know how it goes. Those defensive coordinator leaves, guess what happens? Some of the guys that you had on that other team, they now take with them. They offer him a little bit more money. Those guys trust him. You
act like the Cowboys. The Cowboys are only going to bring back the guys that will play for whatever they offer them out of that group.
Right. And I think my window closing is more based around these teams under Dak Prescott he's had really good teams with not enough success. And you missed the window when Philly was really bad, New York was really bad, and Washington was really bad. They aren't bad anymore. Philly is now the dominant team in the NFC East. Feel however you feel, Dayball is getting the Giants. He's getting the Giants ready. And, I don't know what Kenny Galladay is going to become, but if he figures out a way to come back to something of relevancy, if they trade for a guy like D-Hop and they get some weapons around he and Danny Dimes and Saquon Barkley, if Washington somehow, some way, because they have all the pieces. They have
not a quarterback.
They don't have a quarterback. And I don't, my guy Sam Howell, that's my dude, UNC go Heels. I don't think Sam Howell's a dude. I don't. But if somehow they find a quarterback this offseason via trade or whatever it may be, they have the defense. They have the hogs up front to give you hell. They have Scary Terry. They have Gibson, and they have Robinson. They have players on that team. They're quarterback away from making some noise. And then you look around the rest of the NFC, there are teams that are coming, and you see it every single year. There's a turnover. 5 teams out, new 5 teams in. So there are teams that are going to get better. Say what you want. The Lions are coming, and they're coming. I don't think Green Bay is going to be as bad as they were this year. Next year, they're going to be back in the conversation. Who knows what happens in Tampa Bay? Who knows what happens in New Orleans and so on and so forth? But there are a ton of teams. The Rams are going to, once Matthew Stafford gets healthy again, they're going to figure it. They're going to figure it out and make themselves contenders. What is in Seattle? They're going to make themselves contenders in Seattle. So I just look at everything that's happening around these teams. These teams have been building for the last couple of years when the Cowboys should have been ascending and really taking advantage of their opportunities. And I think now they're to a place where you start looking around and you're saying, oh, snap, y'all. Like the other teams that we dominated before, the last 2 or 3 years, they built up some draft capital. Some guys have come around, and some coaches have been there for a while. We now have our hands full, and it no longer is a cakewalk.
So what you're saying is not that the window is closed, but that there are more windows in the house. You have some other windows pop up for other teams.
Yes, their windows are opening up.
There are just more windows.
Yeah,
Your
so
real estate is.
And for the Cowboys, it looks, Dak Prescott is $50 million next year. That's a lot of money.
That what?
I said Dak Prescott is owed $50 million next year.
That's all right. I'm gonna get 10 back off Zeke.
Okay, that's
hopefully
fine.
Hopefully, I'm gonna give it to Pollard, or we're just gonna draft 2 running backs and just have some new guys.
You got to pay draft picks. You got to try to find some other guys that you're going to sign. We know how we do in free agency. We don't really dive into that pool head first like we do. We'll wait to the.
If they don't find a way to get another good receiver in here, I quit.
Yeah.
Like, I just think about the other team, the teams that are still playing. Like, it is Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd.
Mm-hmm.
It is now Pat Mahomes doesn't even count because he's a cheat code, but it's Travis Kelce and just a whole bunch of dudes that he'll throw the ball to who the hell ever at any moment.
Yeah, but it's a whole bunch of dudes that run a 4-3 that they actually play and scheme up.
Yeah, so it's Pat Mahomes. It's A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. Who have I not done yet? The Bengals, Chiefs. Oh, the 49ers. It's Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. And they traded for McCaffrey.
Right.
So, like, I didn't want to stop Moose in the middle of an answer, but it's like Shanahan doesn't care who his running back is. And that's why I was like, why the hell did they trade for McCaffrey? But they did. And I guess it's working. It's fine. But they're just teams got weapons. You ain't winning without a bunch of weapons. Put some damn weapons around your quarterback. And I know he's had weapons before, and I know Dak ain't perfect. He played like crap in a playoff game.
They're gonna go back and try to sign Odell Beckham, right? That's what they're gonna do in the offseason. And honestly, you look at it, Odell might end up back in New York.
I don't care where he ends up because I don't think he's going to bring a whole lot. I just wanted him this year for this team if he was healthy because this team had nothing outside of 88. I need something.
They're going to sign T.Y. Hilton back for another year as a coach, player, mentor. And they're going to say Michael Gallup is coming off his second year back from the ACL. They're going to trust that. And then they're going to say Jalen Tolbert, this is his year. And we're going to look for Simi Fehoko and Dennis Houston. They're going to look for all those guys to come in and have this resurgence. And then we're gonna watch free agent receivers come on and off the board. Guys get traded for. We're gonna be like, wait a second.
Jerry, if you're serious, Tampa Bay's gonna suck. You trade for Mike Evans. DeAndre Hopkins wants you go get me. Philadelphia went and got A.J. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Like they finally just said to themselves, you know what? We're making bad decisions drafting receivers. So instead of picking one, we're gonna trade for one who we already know is awesome. You need weapons, and that is not an over the top Dak defense. Dak played like poop. Okay. Now he's still going to be here. So surround him with what you need to try to have the best performance from your quarterback because he's the most important player. Having him throw to one guy is not going to work. Your number 2 receiver had 0 catches for 0 yards, even though Dak missed Gallup on a deep ball where he should have completed it. And if he led CD at 6, but
do you know that Michael Gallup had more games with 0 yards in this season than he had games with 50 or more yards?
I mean, I know that he can't get open, and hopefully next year he can again. And hey, maybe if you finish your comeback route instead of just the DB finishing your comeback route, maybe it's at least incomplete.
How about you stop as an offensive coordinator because you're supposed to be able to watch film and stop saying to yourself, the guy who I know can't start, stop, and start again. Maybe I should stop running him on routes that he has to start, stop, and start again. Maybe I should just keep running him on goals, posts, slants, speed in, speed outs. How about that?
Find somebody who's fast. I don't think your number 1 wide receiver also has to be your end around receiver, also has to be your deep threat receiver, also has to be your intermediate receiver. How about find me another damn receiver? How about that? Bleav in the Dallas Cowboys. How about that? Brought to you by Bet Online. You okay, Jesse?
I'm good. Moose was great.
I hope you have a great day. And I want to let everybody know that's watching. We appreciate every single one of you. You're amazing. We're really sorry about the Cowboys, but we didn't do it. They did. So just remember that. And remember, you have no idea what anybody's going through. So be cool to everyone. We love you. Bye.
Eliminate the contingencies.